Let's look at the next part of the definition, which was before a predetermined date. Now this is the expiration date. Very simply, the expiration date for stock options is on the third Friday of the month. Now, technically speaking, it's the Saturday, but for practical terms, because we only trade Monday to Friday, it's the third Friday of the month. Now, why is all this relevant to the OVI? Well, typically, the biggest concentration of options trading activity occurs near the money. In other words, at the strike prices that are nearest to the current stock price. Now, here's a phenomenon that you may have noticed if you've been trading options. The nearer higher strike or out-of-the-money calls generally have a greater volume and open interest than the nearer lower strike or in-the-money calls. Similarly, the nearer lower strike or out-of-the-money puts generally have greater volume and open interest than the nearer higher strike or in-the-money puts. And when I say the word nearer, I mean the adjacent strike prices to where the at-the-money strike is. So if the at-the-money strike is where the stock price is, so if the stock price is 50, the at-the-money strike would be 50, well, the nearer higher strike would be 55, and the nearer lower strike would be 45, generally. Now, why is this so? Well, the reason is because there is also a lot of selling volume as well as buying volume at the nearer out-of-the-money strike prices. And remember, out-of-the-money for puts is the lower strike, and out-of-the-money for calls is the higher strike. So let's have a look at a typical option chain. On the left, we've got calls, and on the right, we've got puts. In the middle, going down the page, we've got the strike prices. And at the top left, we've got the various expiration months. And at the top right, we've got the latest stock price as well. Now, if you don't trade options, you really don't need to know this, but as you can see, on the left we've got the calls, on the right we've got the puts, and you can see these big long symbols for each call and each put. The options symbology has recently changed, so I thought I'd just go through it. But again, if you don't trade options, don't worry. Okay, so you've got this big long string, but the string can be very easily deciphered. It's not like some complex code. So what we've got on the left-hand side, let's just look at the GS 100, etc., etc. Well, what it actually stands for is this. GS is the root, which is Goldman Sachs. That's the same as the stock, or it will be after May of 2010, so you can take that for granted. The first two numbers apply to the year, that's 2010. The second two numbers apply to the month, that's 02, which is February. The third two numbers apply to the expiration date, and they're using the Saturday as the expiration date, so that's the 20th of February. The next symbol is a C or a P, but in this case it's a C, which says call. We're looking at the higher one here. The next few numbers apply to the strike price. So what you've got here is you've got 00105. That applies to the 105 strike price for Goldman Sachs. Then you have a decimal place, and then the last three digits are the numbers after the decimal point. So what you've got here are two options. You've got the Goldman Sachs February 2010 call and put for the 105 strike price. And the only difference between these two symbols is that one has a C for call and the other one has a P in the middle for put. And this is how they're all organized in option chains, from your brokerages to other websites that may have the data. What you'll see on the top row is that for each symbol you have a last price, you have a change, you have the bid, you have the ask, you have the volume, and you have the open interest. So running along from left to right on each column, we'll have a last, change, bid, ask, volume, and open interest.